Hello, welcome back to Simon's Trading Channel. My name's Simon, by the way, and I do a daily Bitcoin price action analysis. But I've said that every day now for some time. It is Thursday, just over the middle of the week, looking towards the end of the week. And what does the weekly candle think about that? The weekly candle doesn't like that big orange line I just drew on the screen, but the weekly candle is like this. Because it doesn't know what's going on. It's an indecision candle, much like these, loads of them. You can see indecision weekly candles everywhere. And all that is basically sideways price action that can, however, be traded on the lower time frames. And so that's where we're going immediately. The support resistance lines for the weekly and the daily are in the same place, and they've been there now for weeks, or maybe a week, or maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. I can't remember. It's too long ago. So this is the 15-minute time frame, and all the way back to Valentine's Day, it has been bouncing around between my support resistance lines with a top at 51,000, a bottom at 51,000, a top at 52.5, a middle at 51.7, and then a couple of little ones in between. And I'll pick up from where I left off yesterday. So yesterday, when I did my video, the price action was around here, and it had just come down, and I was musing as to, is it going to continue, or will it get support at a support line, hence the name, and turn into an uptrend? And lo and behold, it did. So this nicely demonstrates one of the 3 golden rules of trading, which is, and I hear you all shouting out, never short support. That's right. So anyone who shorted this support probably saw the price come down here a bit and went, go, short, but never short support. So, and the way that I then kind of made my decision as to when is this downtrend finished? When is it finished? So I've got a support area. That's my first tick, right? So there's a downtrend in a range and it's right on the support. So I'm thinking this is a good opportunity for a long because I don't want to short support. So I'm thinking it's a good opportunity for a long. What do I do? Now, I could have been conservative and just put a conditional long up here somewhere, and then just ignored the price down here. But, where's the fun in that? So what I did was I watched it and it went sideways. And the price didn't really demonstrate to me the things I wanted to see to confirm the end of the downtrend. And the end of the downtrend would be signified, so let's say it came down here, the end of the downtrend would be signified by a low, so that only becomes a low when the price moves up, then a high, that's still not a downtrend, that's still not an uptrend, that's still a downtrend, because it's not an uptrend until it goes down a bit more and then comes up a bit more. So this is a downtrend. This is still a downtrend. This is still a downtrend. This is the beginning of an uptrend. So you need to signify the end of a downtrend. You need at least one high, but more importantly, a higher low. So that's the most important part of it. And that sort of occurred between here and here. You could argue there were a couple there, but, it was kind of bouncing around within this mini range at that point. At this point, it became more obvious. And it was more obvious to me here when it started to, so the price had made sort of a mini high, but then a more obvious lower high, and that lower high was, no, not a lower high, higher low, more obvious higher low, which became obvious when the price moved back above this high. And then when it started going sideways, instead of rejecting off this mini resistance level, then I thought, hang about, I've now got a confirmed support line again, with price action rebounding or bouncing off it. And I've got the etchings of an uptrend. This looks good. And so I went long. And then we'll talk about what's happened since. So I'm just explaining my thought process. Now, that thought process probably won't work for anyone else. If it does, marvelous. But I think the point I'm making is the way I trade that's clear in my mind and makes me feel happy and calm is a combination of significant support and resistance, or the other way around, support and resistance, and then trend. So it's those two things. And so to do those two things, you need to be able to identify the support and resistance in a logical way, and you need to be able to identify the trend in a logical way. And that applies to any time frame. Woo! There was a lot of, sounded like a teacher then. Sorry about that. So what's happening right now? What is happening right before my very eyes? This is interesting because, as you can see, I've got a trend line on, just to show in a really obvious way that this is in an uptrend. But what's interesting is my mini resistance had a really good rejection, and then a bit more of a slow build, and then a really good rejection again. So I'm starting to think, is this the end of this uptrend? But I can't say that at the moment, because at the moment, I haven't got what I need to define a downtrend. To define a downtrend, I'd need probably something like this. It would never work out like this, because that would be too perfect. But what I would need is, if this is my local high, and if there's a change in trend, it could just bounce from here. But if there's a change in trend, I'd need to see it move back up. Well, I mean, it could just go straight down, obviously. That would be much harder to trade in a way. But if there was another bounce, which failed to get above this high, and then turned down again, it would make this a lower high. So just like this was a higher low, this would be a lower high, and that would signify the potential of a change from an uptrend into a downtrend. And then see what happens. It's not there yet, which is why I would not short from here. I would definitely not short from here. I would need to see some confirmation. And obviously all of that is negated if the price gets back above this area. Because if the price gets back above that area, so, it might just do something like this. And that it would be a continuation of high highs and high lows. So that would need me to adjust then my trend line a bit, which is fine, right? They're not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination. So just do something like that. Because this trend line, remember, price doesn't care about your trend line, doesn't care about it at all. But the reason I put a trend line on is just as a quick glance, so I can glance at it and go, oh yeah, it's still an uptrend. You can see it's in a downtrend. But if you just got a quick line on, then, it's just easier on the eye. So, so there you go. I'm going to undo all that jazz. This is basically in the midpoint now. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes sideways for a bit, maybe trying to make its mind up. At the moment, to me, that's still in an uptrend, and it needs to do a couple of things before it ceases to be in an uptrend. And the order of the week has been range trade. So, it's going to take something more obvious for me to change my upside slant at the moment. I guess the easy summary would be closures above this mini resistance, then an attempt on the top, and closures below this mini support, you'd think would be an attempt on the bottom. All right, that's 10 minutes. You go out and have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll come back to it tomorrow and do it all again.